The idea behind autoRetouch is to be able to mass process hundreds of images automatically, not just change labels, but actually complex operations for which you would normally need to use Photoshop manually. I'm starting off with a fresh account, and the first thing I need to do is to create a workflow. So I click here on the New Workflow button. This brings me to the Workflow Builder view. On the left-hand side, I have the input image. On the right-hand side, I have the output image. And in between is the frame where all the components for the workflow can be dragged and dropped. These components up here correspond to their respective operations in tools like Photoshop, like Remove Background and Skin Retouch. So let's get started by uploading a normal image. The first component, Remove Background, is already in the Workflow Builder frame. It will take some time to process. The results it delivers are very precise, so please allow some time to do its work. Changing the settings will cause each component to restart its work, so please wait until they are finished. The total processing time of a workflow, once it's created, takes about 30 seconds. Nice, it removed the background pretty precisely. Next up, let's drag and drop the next component, Skin Retouch. Notice that as you're dragging and dropping the component, you can determine the order in which the components are placed. The Skin Retouch component, by default, removes any skin moles and airbrushes the skin, and only the skin. You can turn these on and off, and you can determine the airbrush intensity. Now let's add some shadows underneath the shoes. You can determine the size, the blur factor, the angle, and even the color that the shadows will have. They will be placed only underneath the shoes. Next, let's set the motif on the canvas. Here you can determine things like padding, size of the output image, alignment of the motif, and the background color. Last but not least, we'll be setting the export component. The export component always needs to go last and will determine the file type of your final result. We support PNGs with transparency, JPEGs with compression, and PSDs with multiple layers, layer masks, and guides. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'll leave it to JPEG. Now we're almost done. We just need to give it a name. Let's call it Fashion Workflow. Save and click on Run Workflow. Here you see all of the components you selected for this workflow, and you can select the images that you would like processed with your components and the settings that you specified. The images are uploaded to autoRetouch and will begin processing immediately. The results will appear down here in this list. You can either choose to download a file individually, or you can mark all of your files and download them at once. Let's have a look. Here is our finished image, cut out, skin retouched, shadows underneath the shoes, set correctly on the canvas, and exported as a JPEG.